And we're live.
So, Nate, thank you so much for coming on. Anyone who watches my streams on Twitch, TaylorMurka on Twitch, follow me there. Nate is, we've watched most seasons of 60 Days In, and we have kind of a power ranking of, as the seasons start, we'll be like, oh, dude, this guy's going to be a bitch. This girl's going to be good. This guy sucks dick. And then every once in a while, and you invest in them. And so I'm like, oh, this guy's very high T, so I'll throw some cash into him. But then he'll get beat up, and it's like I lose all my money, which is unfortunate. You are the highest T, highest stock of anyone on the show in the show's history. I made a lot of fake money on you, so I appreciate that.
Appreciate it.
Yeah. So we had Mark from 60 Days In on, and his experience was a lot different than yours, to say the least. And for those of you who aren't familiar, 60 Days In, you go in for 60 days in prison. Nate, you're the only person who did 120 days in. Is that right?
Yeah, so I'm the only person to do 2 seasons. Yep.
Were you, because basically you did so well that the guard's like, hey, you want to just hang out? And what were your thoughts when he came to you? Were you like, fuck this? Or were you like, no, I want to be the best motherfucker this show's ever seen?
So, I mean, to be honest, when they asked, at first just pride kicked in, right? I mean, it was just kind of like one of those things, yeah, let's run it. And then when I realized that they were not kidding, they were being serious, I was like, whoa, oh, man, I got to think about this for at least a day.
Yeah. And, I mean, they probably keep paying you. That's nice.
Yeah, yep.
And just to be clear, when he says he did 2 seasons, there wasn't a break in between. He just stayed in fucking jail.
Yeah. So just think of the mind warp that I had to go through when I'm thinking, wow, I got like 5 days left, and then they hit me with this. And it's like, I mean, it's like you're celebrating. Like, you're like, man, that final week, like I'm going home. And then all of a sudden it's boom, it's starting all over again.
Was there a time like 10 days into the second 60 days where you're like, this sucks? Oh, yeah, imagine. Kyle knows exactly.
I know that exact feeling.
Except you didn't volunteer and nobody paid you.
Kyle did 60 days in, too. I'm not sure if we made that clear for Nate.
No, I didn't know about that, Kyle.
Yeah, but it was real when I did it.
Hey, it was real when I did it, too, I promise you. I was just getting paid.
Yeah, but you could leave whenever you wanted.
I sure would like to buy coffee. I would have done that. They'd be like, that guy's crazy. I'm going to rape him.
My shoulder's really acting up.
Yeah,
we'll get you to medical in a week or 2.
Was your shoulder the sign to get out? Just go to the... What was
in
your
one
signal?
Season it was.
But for Nate, what was yours?
What's that?
If you needed to get out, if something got hot and you needed to get out, how do you signal?
So I believe it was to put your hands above your head. I mean, like, I think it was like to do that.
Okay.
And then to talk about sports or something like, I forget, man. That was 3 years ago.
That's how far Nate was from ditching. Didn't even know the signs.
Hey, I'll tell you what. If you don't have a plan, you won't use it.
What was in either of the 60 days? What was the closest you ever got to being like, "Fuck this"? Because as a viewer, I was like, at no point was like, "Oh, Nate's in trouble." Like it would show some inmate being like, "I think Nate's a little too articulate for being here," and then you would show up and they'd be like, "Nah, he's fine." Like,
so I would say honestly, man, like I started dealing with like a lot of depression in there, to be honest. Like I started getting really down on myself. Like there's times in there, and you guys are probably gonna laugh, like that I actually started to question, like, is this real? Like, am I really here for this TV show, or am I actually in here? Like, but yeah, there was a time I read a book about a whole bunch of World War II, I think, soldiers that had been captured. And I just was reading it one night and I almost tapped out. Like it was almost lights out, and I was reading through it and I'm just like, man, I'm done. Like I'm not doing this anymore. And then I was like, I'll give it until the morning. We'll see how I feel in the morning. Then the morning came and I was just like, all right, let's keep going.
I have this theory that, like, no matter where you are, eventually that just becomes the life that is normal for you, right? Whether it be a prison like you were in, or that like Indian poverty, or some Brazilian jungle, this is just life. You just wake up and do life things. Is that what happens? Yeah. You just accept where you are and keep on kicking?
Yeah, man. I mean, it's your new life. That's kind of how you got to look at it, right? You're going to work every day. That's what I was doing. I was going to work every day. So, I mean, I just had to accept that was my work environment.
So there was one, Mark, as we said, he came on. He got roasted by my chat when he was trying to set up a Bible study and walked around going, Bible study. And I was like, I asked him on here, I'm like, Mark, that must have been so disheartening that nobody came to your Bible study. And he's like, no, those motherfuckers at A&E edited it to make it look like nobody came to my Bible study. I had a group right away. Everybody came. And so that part made me look like a loser and I disliked it. Did you have anything like that where as you were watching the show with like your girlfriend or friends, you're like, oh, this next part. And then, oh, wait, what the fuck? That's not how it went down. That was 3 weeks earlier, that scene. Was there a bunch of that?
So to be honest, I mean, I'm not knocking A&E. I mean, they're making, they made an awesome, TV series. So
true.
There was a lot that happened that you're just like, dang, they didn't play that out. But I mean, that's just production,
Yeah. Are you talking about like violence? Like maybe something got too intense and they had to cut, or just
no? I just think like they kind of made things like the climatic like moment that they're building up to, and then they'd pull stuff that happened 2-3 weeks ago and they'd put it in there, and you're like, wait, that's not what was going on then, or I mean, production, they just cut a whole bunch of pieces out and put them where they want them. So
yeah, that makes sense. You kind of have to do that, I suppose. But I did feel bad for Bible study, because that was really an embarrassing scene for him.
Yeah, I felt bad for him.
He didn't get treated right. That's the bad part. Like that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. If you look bad, that's one thing. If they make you look bad, that's not fair.
Yeah.
Everyone's cringe from time to time, but he wasn't. He had a successful Bible study cooking.
Yeah.
You don't think it was that successful, Kyle?
I don't know, but I never bought that he was supposed to be like second in line to like, lead the whites or whatever. He was like, oh yeah, I was next in line. It was like, I think that guy in charge had a bunch of busy work he needed doing. And he was like, oh yeah, you're my right-hand man.
He called a shot, right? He had his own people beat up his own people so that other people didn't beat him up instead. Do you remember that?
That happened a couple times, I think. Yeah, where it's
I remember something like that.
He said it on the show.
Yeah, I just don't think that anybody was respecting that guy or doing anything that he said because he said it.
I would just imagine that like if there's a hierarchy there and that guy's like, he wouldn't just pick you're my new right-hand guy. There'd be some like 6'4" Aryan with like very old swastika tattoo.
That's an original.
You're up next. Yeah.
Mark's a pretty big boy too. So I think, a lot of things, especially in jail, like, it's just size, and Mark's fairly big. I mean, he doesn't, I think when I seen him in person, I was like, oh man, you're bigger than I thought you were.
Maybe you want a teddy bear as your number 2, right? If the guy you describe, this Hulk with the old Aryan tattoos, is your number 2, people start treating him like number 1. Maybe you want your number 2 to be Bagel Boss. And
no, but I'm toasting that Aryan with lead to keep him retarded. I'm number 1.
This is just 3D chess.
Dope them with lead.
Someday I'll have a dead number 2, and Mark will be my number 2. Put too much in there. Yeah, I constantly am watching the show, and I bet everybody who talks to you about it is like Mr. I know. Or is he frozen or no?
For me, in a very funny way, yes.
In a very.
There we go. He's back.
He's back. Can you hear us, Nate?
Yeah, I don't know what happened. It just froze.
That's okay.
You're good.
Yeah, you just froze with a grimace on your face. I wasn't sure if you were upset or frozen, so that's good. So I'm always wondering, watching that show, like, how would I do? And I lean towards the fact that I would do much worse than I think I would, because I imagine everybody goes into it being like, I'm going to be the guy. Just like, I imagine it being like the first time you go to play paintball. I remember when I was like 11, I was like going in imagining like, 1 shot, 1 kill, popping around the side, running, and then you go and do it, and like some 34-year-old with a $1,200 setup just mows you down, and you're sad. But like, I imagine that's how 60 days in. Like, even if you're all psyched up, like, yeah, I've seen all the episodes, I know how to do it. I read prison shows, I watched Oz to get the fear into me, and now like you show up, and I imagine a lot of that just poof leaves your head once you're in reality, right? Like, all the plans fall apart.
honestly, the only person that I think was able to go in there with that whole mentality was Abner, right? I mean, the dude had like
the enforcer. Yeah,
8 years of like actual hard time that he served. I mean, that dude knew the ins and outs, how jails worked, how prisons worked. Like he knew how to, to interact. So I think I went in there honestly just thinking originally I was just going to lay low. I was like, hey, I'm going to lay low, just kind of do my time and get out of here.
Mm-hmm. Was there a moment kind of where the other inmates were getting close to you where where he kind of thought, holy shit, I'm on the ins here. They trust me.
Yeah, that happened pretty quickly too, man. Like I tried laying low, and there was a time where some of the leaders started kind of coming to me and talking to me and things like that, telling me information, telling me, hey, look, if I needed drugs, if I needed this, just let them know. And then there was times where actually I wish Trey was on here with us. So there was this big fight scene where he went up into a room with one of the biggest dudes in there. Rue was the guy's name. And they fought behind closed doors. And that dude actually came up to me and he's like, hey, I'm making an announcement to the pod, but it doesn't go for you or your cellmate, Desmond. But everybody's going to pitch in items from commissary. You guys don't have to pay up. And I was like, wow. Okay.
Man, what were the items for? Just
I don't understand. Why
rent.
did everyone pay
rent?
Just pay.
Oh,
So they were just extorting items out of everyone, but you got to pass because you're cool? Is that the scoop?
Hey, man, I'm hoping it was because I was cool.
They weren't expecting head later or anything?
No, man. And, honestly, I went in there and anytime anybody talked to me, they'd be like, oh, man, you're a Marine. You'll probably kill us with one hand. I'm like, nah, dude, it's not like that, man. Like I probably been in I've been in the least amount of fights probably out of any of these guys in here, and they're like, yeah, but you're trained to kill. I'm like, no, not really, dude.
See, that probably made them like you more. They're like, no, that's part of his Marine training. Keep them underestimating you. I would have been like, yeah, you better not get me to unlock the death stare.
Yeah, miles there.
I'll kill you across the pod if I so wish. Yeah, that being a Marine definitely helped. It seems like that helps in every season, or at least a military man. They find another military guy in there, and they have immediate camaraderie.
Yeah, honestly, man, military gets along really well with inmates. I mean,
you're both
I don't know.
regimented stuff.
Yeah, I don't know what the psychological side of it is there, but
they both do time and can't wait to get out.
Yeah, counting down days.
Yeah.
There was the one guy, in addition to Abner, that I think handled it really well is a guy named Quentin, this black ex-cop, and he never seems to get upset about anything. Like he was laying on his cot under the stairs, huge guy, and some crackhead white guy falls over and he's like having a seizure next to him, and he's like, it's very difficult as a police officer to not get up and go over and engage and try and help, but I figured the guards knew what they were doing. They entered the pod, went over. They didn't even touch the man. They let the inmates continue to hold him. I was very disappointed by what I saw. And that was it. Like, he didn't even get mad or anything. Like 4 days in, he's like, I'd love to have my pin so I could get this phone call out. And they're like, it's your problem, man. Sorry. He's like, this is incredibly disappointing knowing that I've been sending people to this sort of establishment and this is how they run it. Like, he was like, mad about the administration and the policies. But yeah, Quentin rules. Do you, would you ever go for a total of 180? Yeah. If they ever pull you back in for a best of season in a few years, Survivor did it. They'll definitely do it with you at some point.
Man, I don't know how to do it, man. Like, I mean, inmates love the 60 Days In show, right?
I got the answer. 60 Days In International. You go to fucking Thailand, throw you in a Thai fucking prison.
I don't know,
That's
man.
Scary Town right there.
That's 100% Scary Town.
No, you have to go to a Vietnam prison and not let it slip that you're in the U.S. military.
Yeah, don't mention that. Don't mention that.
The true challenge. No, we don't. That'd be terrible. No, you won't. 60 Days in International, I would want to go to like Sweden, Norway, Finland. Have you seen those prisons? Like, you get Xbox.
You're like, I'm not going back. They've got all the good shit.
Yeah.
Awesome.
That guy that shot like 70 people in Sweden like 10 years ago or whatever, it showed like a picture of him. He's got a nice little private shower with tinted glass. He's got a TV.
Wow.
He had a PS3 at the time, and this was like 10 years ago. It's like, what the fuck, dude? This isn't fair.
It just had come out. He's got the
It just come out, and he's got the PS.
He's like, I got the new Grand Theft Auto. It's awesome. He's just killing kids walking down.
Oh my god.